Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Man the Maker and welcome to a new Let's Play series for Iratus, Lord of the Dead. This is a relatively new tactical roguelike turn-based strategy game where, unlike many games similar to it, we play actually the Lord of the Dead himself. We are Iratus, having been killed long time ago. It is time for our return and take vengeance against the kingdoms of man and the dwarves. I think there are elves in the game as well. I'm not really sure. Currently in early access. I believe it did come out on July 24th, about a week ago. I got my hands on it, and it is fantastically fun. I'm really into this game. Really excited by it. And yeah, I'm gonna kind of show you a little bit of how to play as well, and we're gonna get stuck in. I have played through the game on the easy mode once and dabbled a little bit on the difficulty that we'll be doing now. So let's go ahead and start a new game. We will be doing more pain, right? I beat it on Cakewalk. It was not that hard. And now we're gonna give more pain a shot. Can't even do this one yet. First we have to defeat this one. So we're not gonna worry too much about that. Let's go ahead and see what's going on. There you have it. We are Iratus. That is us. Effectively, us, right? We're pretty pissed off. We're mad at the living, and we are going to use what we have to take back the world. So there's a bunch of different things going on here. This is our base, right? We can do all kinds of different things. But first, let's just show you what the map looks like. Kingdom had need of the vast riches buried underneath the castle. Great veins of iron that promised to fuel conquest after conquest, along with ancient artifacts from a long-forgotten age. The dwarves were eager to offer their services in this project, bringing their untested mining equipment and experimental concoctions from the promise of wealth. They only needed bodies that could obey, and that the humans could provide. With dungeons filled to the brim with both criminals and rebels, there was no shortage of slaves to work these mines. Drugs were used to keep them docile as they dug ever deeper, year after year, unaware of the mortal danger that awaited them below. So, seems like the humans dug too deep and have unleashed us. And you can see here, the way the game kind of plays out is you traverse the map one at a time, encountering different events, whether it be a fight, healing, unlocking new items, experiences, things like that. And you gotta pick your path through, kind of Slay the Spire-esque, as you make your way through the dungeon until you get to the boss, and then you go to the next area. There is currently only 3. This is not available and this is not available, but 3 maps. I don't know, how long did it take me to beat last time? I think it took me I'm gonna say 10 hours, maybe, to get through these first 3, but the game does have a fair amount of repairability, and we are going to dive into that. So before we get into our first actual fight, what else can we kind of look at here? So there are different ways you can upgrade yourself, right? You've got the graveyard over here, which are different buildings that you can purchase and then get benefits from. We can actually do one, but we're not going to worry about that just yet. You can level up Iratus in a bunch of different ways. We have no experience at the moment, so we're not going to really look into too much of what that does yet without getting further stuck into the game. You can also unlock artifacts. So what do we start with here? Minions made up of 4 uncommon parts or more gain 20 health during battle. So not the most useful for us because you don't have any uncommon parts in the beginning. As well as a Ring of Purity removes all the buffs from the chosen minion and restores 6 mana for each buff. Also, not very useful for us. Don't need to worry about too much about wine. We'll just equip it. I know some people restart the game a few times until they get good artifacts, but we're just going to leave it as is. Now, a big core of the game, right? You can see down here, these are our minions. We've got a couple of different types there. And this is where we actually create more minions. Now you can have a lot, actually more than is even listed here because they also work your buildings. But you can have a lot of different minions, and you get them by collecting these parts: flesh, hearts, ectoplasm, bone, blood, armor, dust, weapons, rags, skulls. I think that's all of them. And assembling them. So if I wanted to make a skeleton, I need one of each of these different things, and I can, boom, make a new skeleton. If I wanted to make a headhunter, right, he needs 2 weapons, armor, and dust. Boom, I can make it. I can also get leveled up items here to make them stronger. Later on, I can even replace them, though you can't do that initially. You know, vampire requires a bunch of blood. You know, heart, blood, and flesh. Lost soul requiring ectoplasm, skull, on and on and on. I know, obviously, all of these guys are different classes effectively. You got skeletons, zombies, Bride of Iratus, wraiths, banshees, dark knights, mummies, liches, headhunters, vampires, and shades, and lost souls, as well as ghouls, bone golems, and fallen dead peers, which I have not unlocked, and phantasm. You do things in the game to unlock them. So this is more than you actually start with in the base game. So if you're buying the game and you're like, why don't I have more? Well, you have to actually play through the game to unlock it. Like, I need to use Wrath on ultimate abilities to unlock the Blood Phantasm, somehow lure 3 Dampiers to our side, gather bones, etc. Now, we do start with 4 guys here, but this team is not a team that I'm personally going to start with. I'm going to play through the game quite a bit, and these are not my favored units. And it should be noted, I mean, all units have their own strengths and weaknesses. Like, for example, the Dark Knight is very tanky. He's got lots of armor, which is represented here. Not a lot of damage. Not a lot of dread, which does stress damage. If you're familiar with Darkest Dungeon, you know that's how there's your hit points and then your stress. Well, it works the other way for us. We inflict the stress damage, and you can just kill people that way. I find it to be very, very strong. I think it's probably, I tend to focus on it a bit more than the normal attack, but of course, some enemies are immune to it, so you gotta be a little bit careful. You got accuracy, evasion, luck, which is just crit chance, block and ward, as well as armor and resistance. So this reduces the damage you take by X amount, 6 and 6. And this just nullifies an attack, and this nullifies a magic attack. Same thing with resistance is for magic, and armor is for physical. And then, of course, initiative is how fast you fight in each round. I'm not going to get too far. You know, obviously, I just described everything. What does all this mean? Well, as you level up, you can enhance all of your abilities. You always start with all of them, but you can modify them. You know, you get a level. You can put a point to make, Heartless Slash better. It does X amount of damage. Maybe this one does more damage. Maybe this one does less, but does a special bonus. Not going to worry too much about that. What I am going to do is I'm going to put together a team that I want. So I don't want the Dark Knight. I don't want the zombie. I don't really want the skeleton, but we may use him. There are a couple of guys that I really, really like. The Wraith, for example. I'm big fan of the Wraith. They primarily do stress attacks, but we are definitely going to make ourselves a Wraith. Boom. Just like that, we've got a Wraith. We're also going to use the Bride of Iratus. She's a bit of an archer. Also, focusing on physical damage, but she does have one particular ability that I quite like, which we'll get to when we actually get into a fight there. Now, the next things is a little bit, the question is, do we go kind of all in and just make all the guys that we want right away? Like, I really like Banshees. They reduce the, they're also focused exclusively on stress damage. So I think I am going to make myself the Banshee here, because I really like that. Really like the Banshee. Now we need a frontliner. Mummies, again, also with the stress damage, so they can also do a little bit more. They're also rather tanky, I find. Which have a lot of hit points. I'm going to go ahead and make that. So just like that, I spent a bunch of my starting things. I've got a completely different lineup. We're almost ready to jump into the fight. Right? Again, we'll learn the strengths and weaknesses of these guys as we go along. It's a bit too much to probably lay out on the table now, but there is one more thing that we want to try and do, and that's this. Now up here we've got Architect Souls. This is what you need to build a building. You need X amount of Architect Souls, 20 for the first level, 40 to go beyond that. However, you also need a minion, so you have to spend a minion to unlock Excavation. Same thing with this. We have to spend a Dread Knight in order to build this, as well as the 20 here. And then, let's do it. We have an extra Dread Knight here. Spend it. So now what? We have this building. Each minion inside of this building, zombie, go ahead. Does not matter what is in there. Iratus gains 35 experience after a victory, except for quest battle. So this helps level you up quicker. And I find Iratus' experience to be game-changing. These very, very, very powerful abilities that you unlock with that. I'm not going to take a look at it yet to just try and not overwhelm anyone. But eventually you're going to want basically all of these buildings unlocked. And we'll kind of take a look more again as what they do once we have more of a grasp of the game. It's a lot to kind of take in initially. So, we got that done. We don't need to worry about what alchemy is. Talents is leveling up. Creation we've got. Artifacts are equipped. Let's take our team and go into battle. Now you can see here we can have different teams set up. This is our first team. This is who we're going to be taking in. Let's go. The battle might look familiar for those of you who have played Darkest Dungeon and other games similar to it. It does play out in a similar fashion. Right? They've got their enemies. We've got our people here. He gets to go first. He has adopted the sinister strike stance. And this guy just attacked me. I'll get into what that means. So he attacked me and it just said block, right? Why? What happened there? Well, you can see, I mean, I can't actually, yeah. Let's take the ghoul, actually. The ghoul here has 2 block. Whenever he has a point of block and is hit by a physical attack, it's nullified. No on-hit effects are applied. It just doesn't do anything. It's like it never happened. He had 1 block, so now it has been spent on avoiding that attack. So great. He's got 2. Also, they have the ward here, which is the magical one. These guys probably aren't going to be doing a lot of magical damage. They're just conscripts. You can see their stats down here. Certain amount of attack, certain amount of sanity, which is, how until they go insane and they lose their mind. All of their stats are located down here. Not going to really worry too much about that. It's the same stats except for sanity. Sanity as what we have. So now it's our bride's turn, right? And again, a lot of their abilities are positional. Not again, it's the first time I'm talking about. She deals a lot of damage, right? Primarily this one. In the back too, she can deal to anyone 80% damage and a crit does bonus. Okay. She can also do Overwatch. Whenever an enemy moves, deal 50% damage to it. We can utilize this to move the opponents and cause her to deal more damage than she otherwise would. She also buffs herself, getting 4 attack and 4 dread. Attack is just, I think I said this, just your basic damage, and dread is how much stress damage it deals. She can also do a warning shot, dealing a bunch of stress damage, pushing the opponent back 1 and moving herself back 1. Deals 100% stress damage. And last is her ultimate. This uses something called Wrath, which comes up here. We actually don't have any right now, but as we get attacked, as different things happen, you do start to gain that in the fight. It doesn't carry over. But it's how you use your ultimate abilities, and there are some other things that are kind of Wrath dependent that we will get to when the time is appropriate. I have a sip of water now. A lot of talking to do in the first episode, I'm sure. So what do we want to do? Well, this team is all about stress damage. So having her do the physical damage, it kind of doesn't make a lot of sense, right? We have to kill them. If this goes down to 0, if their hit points go down to 0, they're dead. If their sanity goes down to 0, first, on their way down, when it gets low, they can go insane, which causes a number of pretty large debuffs to them. Or they can get inspired, which doesn't happen that often, but then it gives them a number of buffs, as well as boosting their sanity back up. Once this reaches 0, anytime they take stress damage, there's a chance, I actually know the chance, there's a chance that they have a heart attack and they die. So our goal with this team is going to be getting this number, this bar down here, down to 0. So how do we do that? Again, warning shot will deal 22. It's almost half. Now, one thing to note, these guys went into a stance. At the beginning of the next turn, we'll deal 195% physical damage to a random target. That's a lot of physical damage, and we want to try to avoid that. And there are ways you can interrupt stances, one of them being if you move them. There are also some things that specifically say interrupt stance. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to target this guy, because he's got the arrow there. Let's go ahead and move you. So he has taken all that damage, as well as having been moved. He's no longer in his stance. So he both wasted his turn to get into the stance, and he's not going to deal that huge amount of damage. But this guy potentially will. We want to move this guy again. Right? We don't want to do that. Typically, I like Soprano with the Banshee. You can see here she deals no damage, but pretty much nothing. Pretty decent Dread though, and her abilities are very, very, very useful. I really like the utility. They lose 4 attack for their next action. You see these guys only have 11 to 15. That's a pretty substantial percentage to reduce them on all of them as well. You know, if there's 4 of them, you can almost look at it as being suddenly there's 1 less, right? Anyways, we want to move this guy again, so we can deal a bunch of stress damage, move him to a random position. We can also absorb fear, restores them to sanity fully. So we can restore this back to sanity, and then we gain mana equal to 20% of that. Not something I've used that much, because I tend to not focus on the magic so much, which are our spells. This one we know we got from the ring before, right? Removes all the buffs. So if we do buff ourselves up, we can use this to just get some mana back. Meh. I think we're going to go for the scream. It's going to move her up 1, as well as moving the target to a random position. So let's go ahead and do it. As long as we hit, interrupting the stance, I'm great. Now we're up to the Wraith. He's got Necrotic. Wind removes all buffs on the target. This is one of the reasons I absolutely love this guy, because the buffs can be really, really powerful. He can also just give himself more Dread, right? That's pretty nice. Just make him deal more stress damage. This is my favorite one. Deals 35% damage to the enemy and the enemy behind it. So 2 of them in the front or here. So we can actually hit this guy as well. And then deals a dot for the next 2 turns. So it's a little bit over 100%. But what's nice about it is dots for stress are really good. Dots being damage over time, if you're unfamiliar. Really, really good. Because once you get this down to 0, every instance of stress damage is a chance that they die. So having, even if this is dealing 1 damage per turn, it has a chance to trigger them to die. So we are going to just go ahead, we're going to drop this on this guy. We unfortunately missed, and we dropped the curse. So now he's going to take 9 stress damage at the beginning of his next 2 turns. Great. Unfortunate that we missed this guy, but it is what it is. Our Mummy is up next. He's got Cursing Touch, just deals 50% damage, and then for 2 more turns deals another 50%. Also a fair amount of dot damage. He can also do Impending Harrow, just Harrow, has my Jersey accent coming out. Decent damage, right, 60% to 2 enemies, as well as moving himself forward. He can remove all debuffs from allies and gain health. This is really, really good as well. Again, I'm all about that utility, and this is great for it. You'll see it in action later on. Mercy can also do the Stress Beam. Just a decent amount of damage, but if he has a debuff, he can deal even extra damage. Quite a bit more as well. We're going to go for the Cursing Touch, probably on this guy, and just stack... No, let's go for this guy. Let's try and get him insane. Put the Cursing Touch on him, and we had a crit there, and unfortunately, he was inspired. Oh dear. So that did not work. He could have gone insane, but instead he was inspired, apparently. And he didn't get a buff, which is good. But his stress is, or I should call it sanity. Stress is a different game. His sanity is up to maximum again. A bit crappy. We're probably again going to use the Scream here just to move this guy out. Actually, yeah, we're going to use the Scream. Kind of the only thing she can do. We're going to move him around, get him out of that stance. For this, again, we're just going to go with the Warning Shot. We're going to try and get these guys. He has been inspired again. That's really bad luck. 2 people were inspired in this one fight, and they received bonus accuracy, evasion, and attack. Well, crap. We're going to go for the Cursing Touch because we really, really want this guy to die now. Hopefully, yeah, he did go insane, thank God. He's got a 75% chance to attack an ally. I always read that it's minus 75, but it's just like a bullet point. So he's just going to start physically attacking people, which is great. Oh, the one other ability for the Wraith we did not cover was Ghostly Veil. Just gives evasion to any minion within wherever he does it. So we can put it here, and then whoever's here, even if they move, will have evasion. So we need to bear in mind that it's not stuck to anybody. I think we will, however, just go with the ghostly fire. Yeah. We really want this guy to die as soon as possible and start working on these guys who are inspired. Yeah, taking a lot of damage. Getting the hit in us. Now, you notice they're a debuff. Minus 10 luck. Well, the mummy, anyone who successfully attacks him, loses 10 luck. So you can see now he's got minus 2 luck. Negative luck on the target increases the luck of the attacker. So not only does he have a 0% chance to crit, but we have a 2% extra chance to crit against him. I am going to just continue going with the warning shots here. Right, and now hopefully our Ghost Flames will kill him. And actually, I didn't even comment about it, but the one guy died. He had a heart attack. He's gone. From now here, we can just make them skip their turns, and I think we're going to do that. We went over that a bit too quickly. That was her ultimate. A low amount of magic damage, but it has a stun. So these guys are both stunned for their turns. Right? Very, 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 very powerful, her ability. Has been a lifesaver for me. We're going to see. Obviously, this time, not super necessary, but it does help prevent damage being done to us. So again, we're just going to drop the Ghostly Fire on these guys, cursing them. It does stack, so now we've got 2 instances of Ghostly Flame there, which means it's going to trigger twice. We're going to put this on you. Really, you want those dots to stack up, because then there's just a much higher chance that that happens. Again, just pop off with her very jiggly boobies she's got there. Yeah, keep stacking up the Ghostly Fire. Now, this is a pretty easy fight, right? So we didn't really need to do too many tricky things. We just laid on the stress. Things are going to get harder. Hey, got an achievement there for something. All right, and there it is. We gained some parts. We gained some experience. Kind of went over that a bit too quick. Here's the experience that we gained from our library. All right, now let's go look at that. We got some talents. We have 1 point here. There are a bunch of different talent trees, and inside of them, they all have 4 different rows. Not going to go too far into it right now, but I mean, alchemy is basically helps you get new parts, helps you get alchemist souls to make new buildings, helps you get more artifacts, helps you get more brains, different things to kind of help you, your economy, right? That's the best way I can say it. This is economy. Magic is kind of all over the place, has different buffs, different, some of them you have to cast, some of them are just natural. Ire effects, a lot of it is wrath based. So every time a minion misses an attack, we gain 3 wrath, for example. Also, there are things that, if you have a certain amount of wrath, you gain certain bonuses. This is really, really strong, and we're probably going to be going down there first. Destruction is destruction magic, right? You can imagine, the higher level stuff deals 10 magic damage to everyone, as well as setting targets on fire. Zombies get better. So there's also, within all of this, there are just basic buffs to all of your units. Now, we are going to go into the Ire tree, because there's one thing in particular that I really, really, really value. Really value. And it's this one. Start of its turn, a minion restores 8 vigor. Vigor is health. If Iratus has at least 75 wrath. So, if you get up to 75 wrath, you just, every time, your people start healing. And of course, you want to be spending wrath sometimes to use your ultimate abilities, but sometimes you want to just let it heal you, so that you can kind of make that choice. I find it to be very, very strong. So we are going to probably just rush right towards that, and I think, in fact, I will. We can choose between Amok, because right, this needs both this tree and this one. Target minion loses 12 luck and gains attack and dread. So this one is less variability, but just more consistent damage. It's interesting. It's okay. This one gives us more initiative if we have at least 25 wrath. Probably something I'm going to do. I think I'm going to get that. Boom. Be careful, there's no confirmation, so if you click it, you got it. There's no going back from what I can tell. And that's that. Now, we did gain some more parts here, right? Including an uncommon one. So this one, if we gave it to somebody, we would start off with +1 attack. Now later on, once we unlock it, we can actually swap this in with those that already have, that are already created. So you can make these, you can give them to them, and suddenly your guys that are higher level can also have higher stats. Now, there's a whole part of the game that I haven't touched on, which is alchemy, which lets you synthesize different part types from other part types, higher level part types from their own part types, and special items from different kinds of types. We're not going to get into that yet, because we can't really do anything with it, so we're not going to worry about it. And we're going to end the episode here. Next episode, we might consider, we're probably going to synthesize some more creatures. I'll switch up the team as well. Make some new creations, try out different variations. There's a lot. That's one thing I like about the games. There's so many different interactions with the different teams that you can build. This one is probably one of my favorite. For bosses, I have another one that I like to use. There's another one that I think is pretty close front runner to this. That is a bit more of a mix of stress and physical damage, and it's okay to mix these two things. Right? I mean, it's good to kind of focus a little bit more, but you're going to get into fights where you can't use stress to win. And, when you get into that, it's kind of, you need to use the physical attack. So there are some builds, and we're going to all figure that out next time. And, let me know what you guys think down below. I'm really, really excited. I've been playing this game off camera because I've been on a little bit of painkillers, honestly. I hurt my leg quite badly. I'm a bit home-ridden at the moment. And was feeling a bit too bad to actually put it up on YouTube to do a recording. I'm kind of feeling a bit better, and I was antsy. Hopefully the pain nor the drugs aren't shining through. And really excited to be here. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Ideas for builds, ideas for different team compositions. Please do let me know. If you guys got ideas, I would love to hear it. One thing I love about this game is it doesn't force you into a path, right? Even if I use only these guys and they level up, later on in the game, there are a number of ways to have easy access to new units to your B lineup, right? They don't necessarily have to be as weak as if you just never use them. So let me know down below, once again, different ideas, different combinations. And that's it for this episode. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Until next time, my name is Man the Maker. Take care, everybody. Have a wonderful day.